Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Steve.
So, I'm Steve and this is Fernando, and we're doing Habit 7, Sharpen the Saw, Principles of Balanced Self-Renewal. So, we just wanted to start off with an illustration. If you can imagine for a moment, if you will, that this piece of paper is all your dreams. Okay, it's all the goals, the end, why you're here, why you go to college, why you live. It could be relationships, college, and Fernando's going to hold that for me. And you could just think for a second, okay? Now, to my left is a dull DC knife. And to my right is a pocket knife that I've actually got from Nico, which is a week backpacking trip in Ventura Mountains. So it's a little bit sharper. And so if this is your goal, and say this is you, okay? How do you think this will do in, I mean, of course, cutting is accomplishing the dreams for the sake. How do you think this will do? Like, poorly, right? It's not really accomplishing what. And so, if we sharpen our saw, as Stephen Covey says, let me get this one, we could accomplish our dream. And so, with that illustration, I'm going to read a quote from Stephen Covey. It's on your handout. This is the single most powerful investment we can ever make in life. Investment in ourselves, and the only instrument we have with which to deal with life and to contribute. We are the instruments of our own performance, and to be effective, we need to recognize the importance of taking time regularly to sharpen the saw in all four ways. And so we want to talk about 4 dimensions of renewal, which is physical, spiritual, mental, and social, emotional. And Fernando's going to start off with the first one.
Okay, the first dimension is a physical dimension, and that deals with exercise, nutrition, and stress management. We need to emphasize that it's important to take care of our physical body because it's one of the vehicles in which we interact with the world, in which we move from point A to point B, in which we touch and do things like that. And we need to focus on exercise, in particular endurance, flexibility, and strength. And in essence, when we should exercise our bodies on a regular basis in a way that will preserve and enhance our capacity to work and adapt and enjoy. Along with exercise, you also get long-term benefits, such as reduced risk of health problems, which can be a goal that's like in the end. So thinking about the end, which is a habit, having the end in mind. And perhaps the greatest benefit, according to Covey, is that it allows us to develop muscles of proactivity.
Yes. And so just a quick comment. While we go through each dimension, kind of formulate and think for yourself one kind of goal that you can have this week for each dimension in which you can sharpen. And so as we just kind of discussed with physical, think about one thing that you could sharpen this week. And then you could write it down next to each dimension. So the next dimension that we're going to talk about is spiritual dimension. And Stephen Covey says, I think, which is a really interesting insight, is that renewing the spiritual dimension provides leadership to your life. He continues to say that the spiritual dimension is your core, your center, your commitment to your value system. It draws upon the sources that inspire and uplift you and tie you to the timeless truths of all humanity. And he does recognize also that there are different spiritual expressions and in which we do recharge. I'm going to quote Martin Luther, who says, "I have so much to do today. I'll need to spend another hour on my knees." And David O. McKay says, "The greatest battles of life are fought out daily in the silent chambers of the soul." And I just want to take a brief moment, a minute if you will. Martin Luther says when he's extremely busy, he'll spend another hour on his knees. And, as students, I feel like, why don't we just spend 1 minute of our time right now just breathing? And so if you guys could all just participate with me, just close your eyes. Just for a brief moment, and I'll let you know. And just just breathe. Just stand up straight. Don't let gravity kind of get straight posture. Let your ear go above your acromioclavicular joint so it's like straight. and just focus on your breath. And just quiet down the busyness in your mind, clear your thoughts. And I'll stop talking. And just focus on what is very essential, what is life-giving, and what is really important when all these distractions seem to take away our time.
Done that, we'll move on to the next dimension. Third dimension is the mental dimension, and we should not let our minds atrophy. And in college, we take classes and we continually expand our knowledge, which is a good thing, but what about after we're done with college? Some of us are going to go to grad school, others not. So how would you continually develop your mind? We should also be wise in what we watch and in how we spend our downtime. There are many good programs and media which we can benefit from, but there's also other programs which are not so beneficial and which have impacts on us which are very subtle. So we should keep in mind of that. And Covey says, we should train the mind to stand apart and examine its own program, to avoid narrow-mindedness. One of the good things about Westmont is that it's a liberal arts college. So we're continually being introduced to new perspectives and new ideas, which is very good, and it allows us to modify our own programs and perspectives and make them better. Some examples of this would be to read good literature, read a lot of good books, and write down your thoughts in journals. Kind of, figure out what you think, and organize and plan. Covey has a process called the daily private victory, which essentially is training the first three dimensions. You can just spend like an hour a day investing in each, or it doesn't even have to be an hour. Just spend time just meditating on the three dimensions.
Alright, so the next dimension is social emotional dimension. So just take 1 second just to greet or just say hi or just say one encouraging thing to the person next to you. Just shake hands and say one compliment. Just compliment one person to the side, right next to you.
Taylor, thanks for your good work.
Left and to the right, make sure no one's neglected. Make sure everyone gets their compliment.
You have a fantastic beard today, so.
No, it's awesome.
Awesome. Well, and continue to practice that encouragement and affirmation outside here. But if I could get your attention, you just invested in the fourth dimension, the social emotional dimension. And there's multiple ways of doing that. One is by complimenting each other. Another way is service to each other, hanging out, playing games, sports. And so he's saying that the social emotional dimension focuses on habits 4, 5, and 6, which are centered on the principles of interpersonal leadership, empathetic communication, and creative cooperation. So just the last habit of synergy is really capitalizing on this social emotional dimension. And so some factors to consider is the importance of personal security. And so in order to engage in a interpersonal relationship, you need to be secure in who you are, because then you lose sight of your identity, and that can influence the interpersonal relationship. Another thing is interpersonal relationship is very dependent on emotion rather than the intellect. And you realize, college is all about who you know rather than what you know, and you realize that job is all about networking, and you realize a lot more that your future success is more dependent on your ability to interact with each other than how much you actually know in your head. So this is a very important dimension in which we should not neglect to invest in. And so, the last point there is it comes from within. It comes from integrity, accurate paradigms, and correct principles deep in our own mind and heart. So that's very important.
Also going along with the previous habit, there's a synergy that's also created when you practice all the dimensions, because they're all interrelated. For example, physical health affects mental health. And in addition, renewal in the dimensions allows you to live at least one of the habits which are essentially all related themselves. So for example, renewal in the physical dimension reinforces personal vision, habit 1.
Exactly. And so the last kind of the concept is the upward spiral. As you guys remember reading, it's the whole concept of accomplishing this habit 7 is by learning, committing, and doing. So it's a continual, you learn, you commit, and you do. You learn, you commit, and you do. You take a new class, you learn something new, and you commit to it and you do. You engage in a new relationship, you learn about them, you commit to them, and then you do ways of investing in them. And so this next process is just kind of a reflection of an application. And so you kind of learned habits, all these different habits. We've made a commitment, or so we hope, of applying these, and then we do them. So we put 3 ways of applying, and I kind of mentioned earlier of how you can apply. So just spend this next week focusing on just one thing, baby steps, just one thing from each dimension in which you can invest in and focus on, and then just put it into practice. As Kines majors, we like to move, we like to do. So I feel like this we're on our way in this spiral concept. So I guess time-wise, that's kind of where we're at. So any questions, any thoughts, any thoughts on what are some ideas as far as activities that you feel like that just motivated you just right now that you will do this next week? Any comments or ideas? Yes.
Compliment each other more.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a swim competition, to swim the length or the distance to the Channel Islands.
Okay.
And so, me and my suite mate are doing that every morning swimming.
Wow. Okay.
And so it we have a goal, so it helps us to get up every morning, and it's a good way to.
What dimensions do you think that commitment or that task?
Well, obviously the physical, but then I think also social and emotional, maybe, and I don't know, it's kind of a few of them.
Yeah. That's a good one. Respect. Any other ideas? Hopefully you guys are introverted, so you guys have ideas and will implement them. So, how are we on time? I feel like kind of.
You tell me.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.